Story number 1. The invitation was a glossy black card with silver lettering, handed to me by a guy in a hoodie who vanished as quickly as he appeared. The party was that night. Dress code, fancy with a mask. It felt like something out of a movie. I convinced my roommate Xander to come along. We dressed up, donning masks that covered half our faces. I felt like a different person, someone exciting, someone daring. The Omicron Kappa Psi house was on the outskirts of campus, a massive, old-looking mansion that seemed to swallow the moonlight. Music thumped from within, a pulsating beat that made your heart sink with its rhythm. Inside, the place was decked out like some Gothic palace, dimly lit with candles, the walls draped in red velvet. People were dancing, laughing, their masks adding an air of mystery. For a while, it was thrilling. Xander and I split up to mingle. I drifted through the crowd, taking in the bizarre sight. Some masks were simple, others were elaborate, with feathers and jewels. Then I noticed the Omicron Kappa Psi brothers. They wore distinct masks, more sinister than the others, with sharp angles and dark colors. They moved through the crowd but didn't really interact, just watched. It was weird, but I brushed it off. An hour in, the music died down, and one of the brothers, his mask a grotesque, grinning face, climbed onto a small stage. "Time for the main event," he announced, and people cheered. I looked around for Xander but couldn't spot him. The lights dimmed further, and two of the brothers dragged a large object covered with a cloth into the room. My heart sped up. Something about this didn't feel right. They pulled the cloth away, revealing a cage. Inside was a guy from my biology class looking terrified. The room went silent. "Tonight we play a game," the brother on stage said. "In this house there are 3 keys. Find them, and you can free our friend here. But be warned, the house doesn't like intruders." People murmured, unsure if this was a joke or not. Then the lights went out completely. Panic set in. I stumbled through the dark, calling for Xander. When the lights flickered back on, the party had transformed. The atmosphere was charged, dangerous. The brothers were nowhere in sight. I found Xander hiding under a table. "We need to get out," I whispered. We moved cautiously, searching for an exit. The house was a labyrinth, rooms leading into other rooms, each more bizarre than the last. There was a library with books that felt alive, a dining hall with a table set for a feast that looked centuries old. Then we heard the screams. Distant at first, then closer. People were running, pursued by the brothers, who were no longer just watching. It was a game to them, a twisted hunt. Xander and I found the first key in a vase in a study. It was real. All of it. We had to find the others. In a room with mirrors for walls, we found the second key, but we also ran into one of the brothers. His mask was a snarling wolf. He chased us, his laughter echoing off the mirrors. We barely escaped, finding ourselves in a greenhouse filled with dead plants. There, amid the decay, was the third key. Rushing back to the main hall, we found the cage. I fumbled with the keys, hands shaking. The guy inside was crying, thanking us. As we unlocked the cage, the brothers appeared, surrounding us. Their masks seemed to twist, becoming more nightmarish. We braced for the worst. Then, the front door burst open. Sunlight streamed in. It was morning already. The brothers, they just vanished, like smoke in the wind. We didn't stick around to question it. Outside, the world was normal, the sun bright and warm. We released the guy from the cage, and without a word, we all went our separate ways. I never found out who the brothers were or what the game was about. Omicron Kappa Psi disappeared after that night. No one talked about it. It was as if the whole campus collectively decided to forget. But I remember. I remember every chilling moment, every heart-pounding second. I keep the mask I wore that night in my drawer. Sometimes I look at it and wonder if it was all just some elaborate prank. But then I remember the fear, the screams, the feeling of being hunted. That was no prank. That was something else. something dark and real. Story number 2. I never thought a friend request could turn my life into a nightmare. But there I was, sitting in my dorm room at the edge of panic. It started off innocently enough. A friend request from an account named Alex R. No mutual friends. Probably a bot, I thought, ignoring it. But the requests kept coming, day after day. I finally blocked the account, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. I started seeing this person around campus. Not up close, always in the distance. Tall, with a hoodie always pulled up, making it hard to see their face. Just like the shadowy profile picture of Alex R. It was probably a coincidence, but then, why did my heart race every time I saw them? Classes became a blur. My friends Mia and Zach said I was just stressed. College does that to you, Zach joked. But I knew it was more than that. I could feel eyes on me when I walked to class, in the cafeteria, even in the library. One day I finally saw the hoodie figure up close. I was walking back to my dorm, the sun had already set, and the campus was quiet. Too quiet. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and there they were. The hoodie was down, revealing a face that was oddly familiar, yet I couldn't place it. Our eyes met for a brief second before they turned and walked away. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. That's when things got weirder. Notes started appearing in my backpack, in my books, even slipped under my dorm room door. Why did you block me? Let's be friends. They were written in a messy scrawl, but the message was clear. Someone was messing with me, and I had no idea who or why. I tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. The figure was everywhere. The notes became more frequent. I stopped sleeping. Mia and Zach noticed. You need to talk to someone, Mia urged. But talk about what? That I thought I was being followed because of a blocked friend request? The college event was what broke me. It was supposed to be a fun night, a break from the relentless stress. But as I stood there, surrounded by laughing faces and music, I felt more alone than ever. I scanned the crowd and there they were. Hoodie figure, standing at the edge of the dance floor, staring right at me. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed through the crowd, my heart racing. I needed to confront them, to end this once and for all. As I got closer, they started to walk away. I quickened my pace, following them out of the gym and into the cool night air. Hey, I yelled. They kept walking. I ran up and grabbed their shoulder, spinning them around. It was a guy around my age. His face was not one I recognized, but his eyes held a familiarity that sent chills down my spine. Why are you following me? I demanded. His eyes widened in confusion. Then realization dawned on him. You're Sam, right? From Psychology 101. He asked. I nodded, still tense. I'm Alex. I've been trying to return your flash drive. You left it in class weeks ago. I sent you friend requests to let you know, but you never responded. I was speechless. The flash drive. I had completely forgotten about it. My mind raced, trying to process this information. But the notes? The staring? He looked genuinely confused. Notes? I never wrote any notes. I guess I was trying to find the right moment to approach you without seeming creepy. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Relief washed over me, followed by embarrassment. All this time, I had been terrorizing myself over a misunderstanding. Alex and I ended up talking for a while. He was actually a pretty nice guy, just socially awkward. We even laughed about the whole situation. I realized how easy it was to let fear twist my perception of reality. As I walked back to the dorm, I felt lighter. The night no longer seemed threatening, and the campus was just my campus again. I had let a simple situation spiral out of control, but now, it was over. Or so I thought. When I reached my room, there was a note waiting for me. My heart stopped. I picked it up, recognizing the messy scrawl. You can't escape me. This wasn't Alex's doing. A shiver ran down my spine as I looked around the empty hallway. The real terror, it seemed, was just beginning. Story number 3. It was the start of another semester at university, and like any other student, I was a mix of nerves and excitement. My name is Kyoko, a sophomore majoring in anthropology, and my life was about as ordinary as you could imagine. That was until I met our new course assistant, Tadashi. The first day Tadashi walked into our cultural anthropology class, he looked like any other TA. He was young, maybe in his late 20s, with sharp features and a polite smile. But there was something in his eyes, a sort of intensity that made you quickly look away. Things started off weirdly. During lectures, I often caught him staring at me. Not the usual glance, but a deep, unblinking stare that made my skin crawl. I tried to brush it off as overthinking, but the unease clung to me like a second skin. Then the messages started. The first one popped up on my student portal. A simple, "How are you finding the course, Kyoko?" Harmless, right? But it was odd. How did he even get my student ID? I replied with a generic, "Good, thanks," hoping that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. The messages became more frequent, each one more personal than the last. "You look tired today, Kyoko," one read. "I hope you're taking care of yourself." How did he know I was tired? I hadn't even spoken in class that day. It got worse. I started seeing him everywhere. In the library, at the cafe near my dorm, and even at the small park where I usually spent my evenings. It was like he was always there, lurking in my peripheral vision, a constant, uninvited presence in my life. I told my friends about it, but they thought I was overreacting. "He's just being friendly," they said. Maybe a bit too friendly, but nothing to worry about. I wanted to believe them, but the knot of fear in my stomach said otherwise. One evening, I stayed late at the library to finish a project. The building was almost deserted, the only sound the quiet hum of the air conditioning. I was packing up to leave when I heard footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. Slow, deliberate steps coming closer. It was Tadashi. "There you are, Kyoko," he said, his voice calm but sending shivers down my spine. "I thought you could use some help." I didn't know what to say. My mouth was dry and my heart pounded in my chest like a drum. I'm fine, thanks. I was just leaving," I stammered, clutching my bag close. He stepped closer, his eyes dark in the dim light. "Don't be in such a hurry. We barely get to talk." I took a step back, my back hitting the cold metal of the bookshelf. "I really need to go," I insisted, trying to move past him. But he blocked my way, his expression turning dark. "Why do you keep avoiding me, Kyoko? I just want to get to know you better." Panic surged through me. I needed to get out of there, but how? He was between me and the only exit. My mind raced, thinking of what to do. Then I remembered my phone. With trembling fingers, I pulled it out and held it up. "I'm calling someone to pick me up," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Tadashi's expression changed, a flicker of something, anger, frustration, crossing his face. For a moment, I thought he would grab the phone from me, but then he stepped aside. "Fine," he said curtly. "But we're not done, Kyoko. We'll talk again." I didn't wait for him to change his mind. I dashed out of the library, not stopping until I was back in my dorm room, my heart still racing. The next day, I reported everything to the university. The messages, the encounters, everything. They promised to look into it, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that clung to me. Days passed with no word from the university. I started seeing Tadashi less, but the damage was done. I jumped at every shadow, every unexpected sound. Then, one day, I received an email from the university. Tadashi had been removed from his position, and they were offering me counseling for what had happened. Relief flooded through me, followed by a lingering sadness. Why did it have to come to this? The rest of the semester went by in a blur. I kept to myself, my trust in others shaken. But slowly, I began to feel like my old self again. The shadow of Tadashi's presence fading with each passing day.